Hello! So it has been a while, especially since I've done any videos with this, the Honda. Today we are doing, well, I've decided I really ought to get on and do an oil change, and I'm going to change a filter at the same time. I've also got a great selection of products now, thanks to Rock Oil, so I'm going to be sticking some engine oil in that as well. I thought I might as well film it as we go along, and I'll tell you what I'm up to. So yeah, let's get going. So after you've basically warmed the bike up to begin with, to which will thin the oil, and then under here, just behind your kickstand, if I can get the camera around here, you will see, there we go, the drain plug there. That needs to be loosened off with a 12mm socket, and that is what I'm about to do now. So just behind there, that is what you're looking for. This guy just here. First things first, we need to undo, undo that. The ratchet off, just for ease, because you can now do some fine movements, and we want to make sure we don't drop. There we go. And we'll put that there. Keep that clean, ready to put back in. And of course you're going to get it everywhere. There you go. Lovely thick oil, ready to be changed with some nice clean oil. So we'll just let that drain for a little bit. Next thing you're going to need is some filter grips or a filter wrench. We've got grips. So we are going to now go to the oil filter, make sure they are on and gripped, and then we're going to give it a tight, there we go, gripper on. We're going to keep going. So now it is done, we can do the last bit, making sure your oil pan can catch the oil that's coming out of the filter housing. There we go. Old filter, we'll stick in there, and we'll let her just drain that bit of oil out. So whilst we're letting that drain out of oil, I've got my filter ready that I will be replacing in a minute. So we'll put that one down there, a nice little high flow filter. I've also got the oil ready, thanks to Rock Oil. We are using the Guardian Motorcycle 10W40, which we will put in a minute. So yeah, semi-synthetic, and there we go. So now that it has finished draining, we are going to just wipe the last of the oil residue from the filter housing, just to make sure that when we put the new filter on, it has got fresh oil. There we go, just wipe that down where it just caught the exhaust a bit. There we go. So this here is our new filter. Comes with a nice little plastic cover, so we're just going to take that off and remove without it sticking to me. And then something that's probably a good habit to get into, we've got our new oil here. Let's just get some of it and lubricate the gasket and just help create a nice seal when we put it onto the filter housing. Then what we're going to do, line it up, and we'll hand screw it on. That's the wrong way. Good, if you can remember your left and your right, we'll screw it up the right way by hand to begin with. So when putting the filter on, we will do it just till the gasket touches, and then we will do it 1/8 more, so just a little bit to compress the gasket. So we'll now just clean the oil drain plug, just to make sure that there is no metal filings, any old residue on there or anything it's picked up from the floor. Give that a good clean, and we will now put it in and hand tighten it up. There we go. And then just checking that is there. With a torque wrench, you will want to torque it up to 22 foot-pounds of torque. So with the socket, we will hand tighten to begin with. There we go, that's just moved a little bit. We will now get the torque wrench. Probably easier to do it off here. And now go make sure that sits on this. And we'll just go until it clicks. And that is tightened up. There we go. So looking in the Honda manual, it says it takes 2.7 litres of engine oil. So these come in a litre, so we'll use 2.7. So let's start filling her up. So I've already opened the bottles to make it easier to pour it straight in, just because they come with a little paper sealed section there. So anyway, let's undo this. I have already loosened it because I took it out a minute ago, just to make sure I have the right size funnel. So we'll put that down here. I'll get this. We'll hold that one there. So we need to make sure when we are pouring the oil that we take a bit of care and time, because you are pouring directly onto the clutch. So the metal of the clutch is actually quite close. Basically, the oil will overflow if you try and pour it too much. It's a known thing. You just gotta take a little bit of care. So the weather we've got at the moment, it is quite cold out, so the oil is a bit thicker. If you were to do this in the summer, you probably wouldn't have such an issue with it going in to the clutch, the engine, but this is going to take a little while. So I've done 2 litres and I now need to do 0.7. So bearing in mind this is a litre, I need to make sure I get down to 300 ml. So I will do a bit, check and repeat till I've got down to 300 ml. So I'm still pouring, but what I need to do is check to see where the level is. So I'm just currently at 400 ml. I need another 100 ml to go. As you can see, the oil is starting to appear on the sight gauge. Bearing in mind the bike is slightly leant over, it will be a little bit lower than the actual level. So if I can hold it at level, it's just around the 300 mark, which means we've got the 2.7 litres in the engine. I will now tidy this up and we will go from there. So let's just put the oil filler cap back in, tighten her up, give it a little clean. There we go. So now that we have filled the bike with the engine oil, we need to start the bike to make sure the engine oil light goes out. So now that the engine is primed, that means that the oil filter has now got oil in the filter housing. It's now in the system. We will now check the levels to make sure that it is below the maximum, above the minimum, and we'll also check for any leaks. The best way to check for leaks: blow the filter, rub your glove underneath, no oil, which means we're good. With the bike being vertical, we can now check the sight gauge there. We can see oil in the sight gauge, which means we are good to go. Job complete.